The silence of deep space stretched endlessly, a dark ocean scattered with distant stars that blinked like watchful eyes. For centuries, humanity had dreamed of reaching beyond its own world, and now that dream had not only become reality, it had become survival. Massive human fleets drifted through the void, their colossal ships shining with artificial light, engines humming with controlled power. These were not ordinary vessels. Each one was a floating fortress armed with energy cannons, plasma shields, and entire squadrons of smaller fighter crafts housed within their armored bellies. At the heart of the human armada was the flagship known as the Orion Ascendant, a structure so vast it resembled a moving city more than a ship. Inside its command deck, officers stood before holographic displays, their faces tense but focused. The captain, a seasoned commander who had witnessed countless battles, stared at the incoming signals. Scanners were detecting movement, large, fast, and undeniably hostile. "Unknown fleet approaching from Sector 7, a tactical officer reported. "Multiple signatures, not human." A low murmur spread across the bridge. Everyone already knew what this meant. The alien forces had been silent for months, regrouping, evolving, preparing, and now they had returned. Far beyond the human fleet, emerging from a distortion in space, the alien armada began to materialize. Their ships were unlike anything humanity had ever constructed. Organic in design, yet fused with advanced technology, their vessels seemed alive, pulsing faintly with energy, surfaces shifting like liquid metal. They moved in synchronized formations, as if controlled by a collective intelligence rather than individual commanders. At the center of the alien fleet floated their largest vessel, a colossal mothership whose presence distorted nearby space itself. Energy rippled around it, warping light and bending perception. From its core, waves of unknown power radiated outward, coordinating the smaller ships surrounding it. The first signs of contact were not words, but weapons. A sudden burst of energy streaked across the void, fired from an alien cruiser. It traveled faster than light detection could register, slamming into the outer shields of a human destroyer. The impact lit up space in a brilliant explosion of energy and debris. "Defensive formation," the human captain ordered instantly. Human ships adjusted positions with precision, forming a layered defensive grid. Shield generators flared to life, creating overlapping barriers of energy. Fighter squadrons launched from hangars, their engines igniting in synchronized bursts as they accelerated toward the enemy. Inside one of the fighter crafts, a young pilot tightened his grip on the controls. His breathing was steady, but his mind raced. This was his first real battle. Around him, other fighters darted forward, weaving through space like arrows released from a bow. "Stay in formation," a voice echoed through the communication channel. "We engage together." The alien fighters responded in kind. Sleek, swift, and seemingly instinct-driven, they broke from their mothership and surged forward. The clash began within moments. Energy weapons lit up the battlefield. Beams of plasma, bolts of charged particles, and bursts of electromagnetic pulses collided in the void. Every impact created brief flashes of light, illuminating fragments of ships torn apart by the intensity of the war. Back on the Orion Ascendant, the tactical map updated rapidly. Sections of the battlefield glowed red as enemy units advanced. The captain observed carefully, analyzing patterns. The aliens were not fighting randomly, they were adapting. "Adjust our formations," he said calmly. "Predict their movement, they're learning from our patterns." The human fleet shifted strategies. Instead of static defense, they began to move dynamically, rotating ships, creating unpredictable vectors, and using decoy signals to confuse enemy targeting systems. Smaller ships acted as bait, while larger vessels repositioned for strategic strikes. In the middle of the chaos, a group of human cruisers unleashed coordinated fire on a cluster of alien ships. Their combined energy beams converged into a single point, piercing through alien shields and disintegrating multiple targets at once. Explosions rippled outward, sending fragments spinning into the void. But the aliens responded quickly. From the mothership, a pulse of energy surged outward, traveling across the battlefield like a shockwave. Human sensors detected a sudden disruption in their systems. Shields flickered, communications briefly distorted, navigation systems recalibrated. "Electronic interference detected," a technician shouted. The alien mothership was not just a command center, it was a weapon of influence, capable of affecting the battlefield on a systemic level. Despite the interference, human forces adapted. Engineers rerouted power manually, stabilizing critical systems. Pilots switched to backup targeting protocols. The resilience of humanity was being tested not just by firepower, but by unpredictability. In space combat, every second mattered. A human battleship moved forward, its main cannons charging with immense energy. The ship's entire structure vibrated as power concentrated at its core weapons. Then, with a deafening discharge, it released a beam capable of slicing through multiple alien ships in a straight line. The beam struck an alien formation, breaking their alignment and creating an opening. Human fighters seized the opportunity, diving into the gap and attacking from within. Close-range combat erupted. Fighters spun, dodged, and fired in rapid succession. Some were hit and exploded instantly, their remains vanishing in bursts of light. Others narrowly escaped destruction, their pilots pushing both machine and instinct to their limits. Inside the cockpit of one fighter, the young pilot found himself locked in a pursuit with an alien craft. The enemy ship moved erratically, anticipating his maneuvers. The pilot adjusted, recalling his training. He cut his engines momentarily, drifting silently before reigniting thrust in a sudden burst, catching the alien off guard. A precise shot later, the alien ship exploded into fragments. Breathing heavily, the pilot continued forward. He had survived his first encounter, but the battle was far from over. Meanwhile, at the center of the conflict, both fleets began to escalate their attacks. The human flagship deployed its advanced weapon systems, releasing waves of concentrated energy across enemy lines. At the same time, alien ships began forming geometric patterns, channeling energy into a collective attack structure. A massive energy beam emerged from the alien mothership, thicker and more powerful than anything seen before. It traveled toward the human fleet, warping space around it. "Brace for impact," the captain commanded. Human shields strengthened to maximum capacity. The beam struck the defensive barrier of the Orion Ascendant, causing the entire ship to shake violently. Energy readings surged to critical levels as the shields absorbed and redistributed the incoming force. Systems strained, but held. The human fleet responded with a coordinated counterattack. Multiple ships aligned their cannons, synchronizing their firing sequence. At the exact moment, they unleashed a combined beam of their own, aimed directly at the alien mothership. The two forces collided in the middle of space, creating a blinding explosion of energy. The shockwaves spread outward, disrupting ships on both sides. For a brief moment, everything went still. Then, the battle resumed with even greater intensity.
The aftermath of the energy collision left both fleets recalibrating their strategies. Debris floated silently between them, remnants of destroyed ships drifting like fragments of a shattered world. Yet neither side retreated. If anything, the confrontation had escalated into something far more decisive. Inside the alien mothership, a deeper layer of coordination was unfolding. The collective intelligence controlling the fleet was analyzing human behavior patterns in real time. Humans relied on adaptability, communication, and layered defense systems. In response, the alien forces began evolving their tactics mid-battle. New formations emerged from the alien fleet. Ships that were previously acting independently now merged their energy fields, forming interconnected nodes of power. These nodes created a network that allowed them to share energy, targeting data, and defensive capabilities instantly across the battlefield. Human command detected the change. "They're linking their systems," a reporter said. "It's no longer individual units, it's a unified structure." The captain narrowed his eyes. "Then we disrupt the network." Orders were issued immediately. Specialized human ships equipped with electromagnetic disruption technology moved into position. Their role was not to destroy, but to interfere. These vessels emitted focused pulses designed to break synchronized systems. As they approached the alien formations, they activated their devices, sending waves of disruption through the alien network. For a brief moment, alien coordination faltered. That was all humanity needed. Human fleets advanced aggressively. Battleships and cruisers pushed forward, unleashing concentrated fire on weakened segments of the alien formation. Fighter squadrons exploited the gaps, striking critical targets with precision. Explosions erupted across multiple zones as alien ships lost cohesion. Without their network intact, individual vessels became more vulnerable. But the alien mothership responded. A powerful energy field expanded outward from its core, enveloping nearby ships. This field stabilized the network, restoring coordination almost instantly. Additionally, the field acted as a defensive barrier, absorbing incoming attacks. The battle had entered a new phase, one where both sides were constantly adapting, countering, and evolving. Inside the human flagship, tension grew. Resources were being consumed rapidly. Shield reserves, energy outputs, and ammunition levels were all being monitored closely. Despite this, morale remained steady. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before and endured. The captain stood firm, observing the battlefield with unwavering focus. "We need to end this at the source," he said. "Target the mothership." A specialized task force was assembled. This group consisted of the most advanced human ships designed for high-risk, high-impact missions. Their objective was clear: break through enemy lines and strike the alien command center directly. As the task force advanced, they encountered heavy resistance. Alien interceptors swarmed in defensive waves, attempting to block their path. Intense dogfights erupted, with ships weaving through explosions and energy blasts. Despite heavy losses, the human formation held together. At the front of the task force, the lead ship activated its overcharged engines, accelerating toward the mothership at extreme speed. Its shields absorbed repeated hits, flickering under pressure, but maintaining integrity long enough to continue forward. Behind it, Allied ships provided covering fire, clearing a path through the alien defenses. Inside the alien mothership, internal systems detected the incoming threat. Defensive mechanisms activated. Energy barriers layered themselves around the core, creating multiple zones of protection. The final confrontation was approaching. The human strike team launched their coordinated attack. All remaining energy was concentrated into a single offensive push. Cannons fired simultaneously, targeting weak points in the alien defensive layers. The first barrier collapsed, then the second. Each layer weakened under sustained pressure until only the innermost core remained protected. At that moment, both sides committed everything they had left. The alien mothership released a concentrated defensive surge, while the human strike force unleashed their final combined blast. Space itself seemed to bend under the intensity of the clash. A massive explosion followed. Light consumed the battlefield. When the brightness faded, both fleets waited in silence, assessing the outcome. The fate of the battle and possibly the war hung in the balance. And in the aftermath of that moment, one truth became clear. This was no longer just a battle between ships. It was a war between two civilizations, each refusing to surrender, each pushing the limits of technology, strategy, and endurance in the endless darkness of space.